So today we're going to talk about summary. And the standard we're looking at is actually the same through a lot of middle school and high school. And so it's 6D, which is paraphrasing and summarizing texts in ways that maintain the meaning and the logical order. So the first part of that standard was summarizing versus paraphrasing, right? What are they and when do you use them? So let's look at what they are. A summary, you're going to look at the main ideas and you're going to write it in your own words, but it's going to be kind of short because you're having to prioritize the main idea from like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And you're just giving a broad or general overview. There are no details. And so when you're thinking about it in this way, you're being more selective about those main ideas when you're summarizing. When you're paraphrasing, it's similar because you are rewriting or resaying, so you can tell someone else a text in your own words, but it can be longer because you're giving not just the main points, but also some important details. So paraphrasing is more like synthesizing, where you're putting everything together throughout the whole text, not being as selective. So first we're going to look at some strategies for writing a summary, because you have to write summaries all the time in all your classes, whether that's learning something in science or in history. You need to be able to read the content or the text, and then you need to be able to think about how can I summarize this for myself so I can remember the main points. So one strategy is the 5 W's and sometimes H, which you might have heard before. And those just stand for those 5 question stems, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and sometimes how. And so this is beneficial for a longer passage. If you're reading maybe a chapter and you need to summarize that, this can kind of make sure that you're getting all of the main points of that chapter or that unit. And so those are some of the questions you might look at, is like when it says who is involved, it might be more than one person. What happened, when, thinking about not just the day and the time, but even like the year, especially when you're looking at summarizing a historical text. Where, and then why. Why did this happen? So describing some things maybe that led up to this. So that's why you can see that this is going to give more detail. And so it's more like you're paraphrasing the event or whatever it is that you read. Another one is somebody wanted but so then, and you might see it abbreviated in this way. This actually works with any text, so it doesn't have to be nonfiction. It can be fiction as well, in any genre and any class. So you could also use this in history, just like you could with English or language arts, and you might have heard this before. So somebody, which is a person or a group of people, they wanted something, but something happened, a conflict or a problem. So, what are some details about that? And then, what's the resolution or solution? And sometimes you might have also seen it as just somebody wanted but so, and the so is kind of the solution or resolution. And so you might have seen it just as that first 4 letters. So let's look at what that would look like in nonfiction or fiction. One thing that's great about this is that it's not only writing a summary, but you also having to make inferences, because you're having to think about cause and effect relationships. So if we looked at an example from history, a nonfiction text, Princip wanted to be its own country, or wanted to have its own country, but they were under Austria's rule, so he shot the Archduke to start a war. Then other ally countries joined each side and the First World War began. So that is how you could use that for nonfiction. And then for fiction, Simba from Lion King wanted to be king, but he was tricked into leaving his kingdom. So he went on a journey to find himself and his purpose. Then, when he overcame his fear, he faced Scar to become king. So then that is different from when you're evaluating summaries. So writing summary and then looking at summaries. Which one is the best summary? This is something you're going to have to do for STAR for multiple choice, right? So there's 2 different strategies. If you're looking at fiction, which is obviously it's like a story, it's creative, it's not real, right? That would be maybe like a short story. And so our strategy is CPR, which stands for character, problem, and resolution. So on the STAR test, you will have to look at multiple choice questions after reading a story. And it helps to actually annotate right on the test. So the first thing is, okay, are they providing the character? Yes, in this one, and this one, the main character is described. And then what's the problem? Here's the problem, and then the resolution. Now, this one was a little bit easier because although there's a problem in this one, it's not the main problem or main conflict in the story. So if you're, once you've read a story, if you look over it and you can identify this is the main character, this is the main conflict, and this is how it was resolved, that will help you choose the best summary for fiction on Star. Now, if you're looking at nonfiction, remember where that's true. So from a news article, that is going to be something where we're going to use a different strategy. We're going to use something called BME, which stands for beginning, middle, and end. And so basically with this, you would want to label BME to the side of each of the answer choices, and then look back through the passage and say, okay, did this include the most important point from the beginning of the passage? No or yes. Did it include the most important point from the middle and then the end? And the one that has all three, that is the summary for a nonfiction text. It's also helpful as you're reading the text if you can write some notes out to the side of the actual article or the selection that you're reading. So you're reading the beginning part of the passage and you're taking notes about the most important part from there. That can also make it a little bit faster for you instead of having to re-look over the whole passage when you're choosing this. So when do you choose one strategy over another? Because there's a lot of strategies and there's not one that's always right or always wrong. Different strategies work in different situations. So if you're looking at fiction, remember, is it multiple choice or you're looking at STAR multiple choice questions? Use CPR, character, problem, resolution. Is it writing your own that's fiction? Use somebody wanted, but so then. Same thing for nonfiction. Is it a multiple choice that you're having to evaluate? Use beginning, middle, end. Are you writing your own? You can use somebody wanted but so then, or you could use the 5 W's. So there's a lot of strategies. Again, you'll have to use them at the appropriate time. And I think that pretty much sums it up.